when having different thoughts with product engineers, or when you get pushbacks from engineers and product, what will you do? Hi folks, this is Bear from Bear Academy. A few weeks ago, I did share back on a design crit session at the place I worked at, Zero. And I think that was a really good session because the discussion and the insights that I got is invaluable. And also, it's a very good way to show how I put things together and ask for questions. So in this video, I would like to share with you this example. It's also will be a really good demo to show how to put things together for a design critique session as a designer. And also, the question we discuss is really valuable. So it's about how a designer can collaborate with product and engineers when there's disagreement and pushback from them. So let's check the details. Cool. I think the first part, I will walk you through this topic and the format that I did, and then we can check the questions I have. So before the design critique discussion, I put something together to have the team that understand the problem I'm solving and also the context, but more importantly, what kind of feedback I'm looking for. So here is the high-level question I want to discuss with the team. When having different thoughts with product and engineers, what will I do? And for the context, we have some specific feature to be developed in a product that I'm not going to walk through the details, but during that stage, we did some discovery and have some findings, like how to collaborate with the team as a designer. And those are the insights or the discussions that I've got. And also, I share first with the team, with the design team, that this is the high-level problem. I want to have their opinions, and also the context, the previous discussions, the insight, the things I've learned from some previous project, and also the options for this specific question, and some feedback from engineers and product, and then some considerations. And then I just leave the stage open for everyone can join in and leave some thoughts on this board while we're talking, or just jump in to have some discussions. And really great that most of the designers give me the thoughts back with their experience and suggestions that are really helpful. So yeah, that's the format I use to walk through the design critique. So I think as a reflection, especially for many junior designers don't know how to walk through a design critique. Like, is it a presentation, or if I don't get a clear answer, should I still present? Things like that. I think for me personally, I think a design critique session is a great way to find some blind spots that you haven't thought of, or find some suggestions or directions that you can explore with other designers' thoughts and experience. So that's actually a really valuable format, and it's more like calibrate your direction towards the final solution. So it's not like a presentation. So I would like to think it as a way to justify your thoughts and gather information from different parts, especially for other senior designers or different roles like product or engineers. So yeah, just use it and communicate well. And one major thing about design critique is to make sure that what kind of the feedback you're looking for is clear for them. For example, if you're looking for the feedback on the high-level discussion on this question, make sure that people understand it. And if you're looking for feedback on the UI elements, make sure people understand it as well. Yeah, so that's the first part. Right, now let's get to this great question. Sorry. I think it's a great question because this is probably a question that many people have. And maybe during every time of the interview process for a designer, this could be a question reframed in different ways and asked you. When having different thoughts with product engineers, or when you get pushbacks from engineers and product, what will you do? And I think first, this is a common question, which means it's not necessarily for junior designers, actually across junior, intermediate, and senior designers. And it's across different company level, like startups or large corp. There are always this kind of question. So it's necessary to develop some strategy for you to solve it. And the things I've learned from this session, there are a few designers share with me. And now I'm just to make my notes, right? So the first note is from our design director. It's about to find some principles that you can align or the team agreed before and use it to discuss, use it as the conversation starter for discuss different options. And it's not necessarily to be some design specific principle, such as some UX principles or other things. It would be good to have some across team, like product and engineers and designers. They're all agreeing some principles, even on a high level. That would be a great conversation starter and something we can align on. And if not, if your company or your team doesn't have some principles has been established, that's okay. Can also depends on general experience or common sense as the principle, and discuss with that, and then check the specific question. So that's the tip number one. Rely on some principles. And tip number two I got is about bring it back to UX, which means as a designer, especially as a product designer or UX designer, we are the user defender. We are the defender of users. So like most of our decision will be backed by the consideration of customer experience, user experience. And sometimes if it's a question about, if it's a pushback about the feasibility from tech or the cost or other things, you can also bring it back to the user experience. Like, okay, it might take more time to build, but it's according to the data, it will be a better user experience solution. So how about that? Should we go to that direction, or just the simple but less not very good experience for that? So yeah, that's the second tip that I got. Also, it's really helpful. The third tip I've got is to mark it up quickly. What it means, as a designer or as a visual person, designer, for every designer, visual is your power, right? So we are able to put things together, and we are the experts on understanding how things looks and feels on screen. And sometimes we know, okay, how much density for one screen, what's the good balance for that. And people in their minds thought differently, but they're talking about the same concept. So the best way to do that, to make it visible, or the best way to make it like shared and communicate well, one of the best ways is to make it visible, which means that you can quickly mark it up. For example, if you have an initial thoughts on this would be a good solution, and the team have different opinions, great. Let's note them down and quickly mark it up and compare with your initial thoughts. And we also can list some considerations, and people can see the difference immediately, and then they will understand, okay, this could be better or that could be better. So people just want to be heard when you are able to put their thoughts together as a mock-up, and they see, okay, you heard it, and also you did some put some effort to put things together to show the difference, and people see the difference. So that will be a really good way. So that's the number 3 tips to quickly mark it up. And number 4 is to validate in both ways. What it means, as the context, when we developed a feature, the cost of developing a feature, if we make it divide into different roles, the cost for a designer to put a mock-up together and the cost of the engineers to put a feature feasible, it's different. In general, the cost for engineering is higher than design. And so that we might got many pushback, such as okay, this is a great feature, but it costs too much. It spends a lot of effort to build, and which means that design need to figure out different options to solve the same question, to solve the same problem. Which okay, we can do that. We can explore different ways to make it like to solve the problem. But the other way, to be fair, or just like for engineering perspective, why it costs too much? Are there any better ways to solve the problem, to reduce the cost, to reduce the efforts? Have they validated? So it's like two sides of a coin. So we can solve the design, we can improve the design solution as well. But how about engineering team can also do the similar thing to simplify it, to speed it up. What about their validation? So yeah, that's also sometimes we can link in and ask and request, so that the final goal is to make sure that it's a really good balance, like the product, engineer and design is like a good triangle that can balance, can have considerations from different parts. And finally, I think it's all about trust, right? So it's all about trust. So if the team trust each other, trust everyone is based on goodwill, and also from their specific expert consideration. If we have that trust, that would be a much easier way to solve this problem. I think, yeah, sorry, I rumble a lot during this video, and to be honest, this video is more like my personal reflection of dealing with this problem, and it's more like a personal note. But I think I just record this so that if people have similar experience, that could be helpful. And there might be other ways. I think that would be the correct, ongoing discussion. So if you have any thoughts on this question, please feel free to have a comment, leave a comment, or reach out to me. I'm happy to discuss this topic with you. And let me know what you think. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.